The legend of the adventuring party known as the Rad Squad begins in a city where many travel to seek fame, wealth, and danger, Waterdeep. Coming from a variety of backgrounds, our heroes meet at the one-legged seagull in desperate need of coin. The owner of the tavern offers them a contract from the lord of a town called Nightstone. A simple contract: remove goblins that have been causing trouble for the denizens of the town. Venturing out from Waterdeep, the party arrives in Nightstone to find it partially destroyed with large boulders, overrun by goblins, and no villagers in sight. The Rad Squad dispatches the goblins quickly. While investigating the town, they meet a woman by the name of Kella, who works for the Black Network, a thieves' guild which operates out of the country of Faerun. Kella informs them that the Cloud Giants attacked and stole the large Nightstone for which the town is named. During the attack, townspeople fled to the caves north in hopes of escaping the vicious and unprovoked attack.
Our team set out of Nightstone to try to find the villagers who were missing from the town after the giant attack. Through some beast sense and tracking, the adventurers discovered a cave system in the hills. Scouring the cave, our group came upon a rock forest in which 2 trolls were living. Alerting the trolls, they attacked our adventurers along with several goblins. But with much power and well-placed blows, our group trounced the monsters. Searching the stalactites, a trove was found in which several magical items and money were found. Soon finding the villagers, they told our group that Hark the Goblin Leader was still in the cave and to beware. In an effort to find out more about what happened with the villagers, our companions came across what can only be described as the Black Pudding, a giant mass of goo that erodes rock and metal. Capturing Geth, Dryden thought quick and saved Geth by fishing him out with the previously acquired 10-foot ogre dong. Investigating an underwater deep cave, Tomp came across a magical vial with some strange liquid. Regrouping outside, our team decided to rest, apart from Dryden. During this rest, the evil Goblin King, Hark, showed himself to Dryden and demanded a tax for the team's presence on his land. He then disappeared. The next day, the group decided to revisit the cave to look for the remaining villagers, when all of a sudden, they were attacked by an army of rats and goblins. But they were no match for our group. Incapacitating Hark, our friends then threw him into the Black Pudding on their way out to escort the villagers back to Nightstone. After a night's rest in Nightstone, the group headed out to deliver a message to the sheriff of Brianshander. Our team awoke to seek out Lady Nandor, the current leader of the town of Nightstone, who is located across the broken southern bridge in a keep. In an effort to fix the bridge, our team thought it to be easy enough to just throw Tomp across in order for him to repair the other side. And seeing this, a nosy guard came down from the keep to better understand what our group was trying to do. With some negotiation, the team learned that Lady Nandor had been crushed under a boulder during the previous Cloud Giant attack. With this trying news, our group decided it best to return to Waterdeep, in which it was rumored that the King of Nightstone was doing business. As the team set out leaving Nightstone, a giant tower, donning a wizard's cap, landed before the team, when all of a sudden a voice boomed in their heads, pleading them to come on an adventure where there will be many riches. Deliberating for some time, the team finally convinced Tomp and Dryden to come along. Inside the tower, a giant revealed himself, and then escorted the crew to the outskirts of Waterdeep. Our group finished up their shopping trip in Waterdeep with some new weapons including hammers, axes, and arrows with magical properties. However, their sightseeing was cut short due to some cloud giants descending upon the city, causing mass panic and mayhem. The brave adventurers thought it best to leave the city without a battle, and to catch up with their friend Zephyros, the cloud giant in the Hatted Castle. The group, once they got to the castle, asked their giant friend to escort them to Brianshander. On their way, a large dragon carrying mist dwarves descended upon the castle and worked their way up to the top level. Once at the top level, the group damaged the dwarves as much as possible, with a few mishaps along the way.
With some orc acrobatics, tethering arrows, brain shooting, ferocious fire, and Brontor finally making his way to the second floor of the flying castle to join the battle, the adventurers defeat the misty dwarves. Dryden attempts to negotiate with some grumpy griffins, and the Rad Squad gather their loot. Two hooded figures appear in the castle to threaten Zephy, and instead of waiting to gather any information about who they are or what they're doing, Dryden comes to the protection of his friend by stabbing one of the strangers through the throat with a spear. The other stranger disappears, but not before an evil laugh fills the room. The group finally arrive at the city of Brian Chandler. An army of frost giants try to lay siege to Brian Chandler in search of the enchanter Archus Kindberg and the magical artifact he is said to carry. The Rad Squad prepares explosive catapults and rallies the troops to defend the city. Brontor and some of the city guards are struck down unconscious several times despite Jessica's attempt to heal them, and Geth and Tomp continue to be DPS powerhouses, slaying many giants and direwolves. Jessica attempted to stay her hand with attacking the enemies, but seeing her comrades fall around her even after attempting healing, she is full of pain and anger. She crawled on her knees to the last remaining giant and breathed a huge cone of fire breath that disintegrated the giant. She collapsed in despair as the life of the giant slowly faded. The battle ends, and the group delivers a message to Markham of his sister's death. Then they decide to head to Neverwinter to try to find Archus Kindberg and the sword-for-hire Harshnag. When investigating the dead, frozen bodies of 4 giants that fled the battle, 2 Remoraz burst through the ground to attack them. The Rad Squad is able to slay the 2 Remoraz, even with the fiery blood of the enemy burning through their skin, but then a 3rd Remoraz erupted from the ground and seized Tomp in his jaws. The group is able to barely defeat the monster centipede, and it lets go of Tomp, with him barely clinging to life. After Dryden deals the final blow, a tribe of local people confront the group and informs them of their need of defenses. The Rad Squad ignores them and continues their hunt for Harshnag.
After retrieving their reward for gathering intel on the Frost Giants, the boys, Brontor, Tomp, and Dryden, attempted to convince Jessica that she was needed at the temple, but failed. After which, the group started to make their way out of town, but came across an elderly gentleman who didn't seem all there. Jessica and Geth then attempted to see if they could use the man's horses so the group could travel to Neverwinter, but found out that the man's horses had long been dead. To keep the crowd distracted from Geth and Jessica's actions, Tomp and Dryden decided to put on an acrobatic show. Tomp was flung high into the air and landed face down into the snow. After realizing the group would not be able to travel via horseback, they set out on foot. While traveling to Neverwinter, they saw smoke signals in the distance, which Tomp mistook as smoke signals reading "Send Nuds." They then approached the smoke to find a fire giant, leading an excavation crew with the help of some goblins, ogres, and a frost giant. After besting the fire giant and his excavation crew, the group gained a new comrade, a frost giant named Harshnag. Upon searching through the remains of the crew, they found an enchanted rod that seemed to point to a magical artifact underneath the site they'd been digging at. After traversing down the chasm into the dungeon, Dryden got a hold of some potent alcohol that Harshnag was drinking. The now intoxicated Dryden burst through one of the doors and activated numerous traps, ending in a pool of liquid where a black ooze slowly creeped over Dryden. After besting the black pudding that the crew stumbled upon, the group continued to explore the dungeon. In searching, they found the axe of the Forge Breaker, to which Dryden decided to take after Tomp failed to pick up. Tomp and Geth then explored on their own to find a sapphire resting upon an altar. To their surprise, a sphinx was lying in wait. With Geth's quick thinking and wit, they escaped the sphinx, who had been dubbed No. The group was then able to obtain a piece of Vanindad. After leaving the dungeon, the crew continued on their journey to Neverwinter. They happened upon a town named Huddlestone. It was there they met Brokered Ingot Sword. As the heroes made their way through the town, a portal opened up and 4 basilisks poured out. Even though the group were able to defeat these creatures, Dryden had been turned into stone. After some time, the group was able to cure the petrified Dryden using the bile and blood of the basilisk. The group then made their way to the inn where they met up with a gnome who was later found to be a part of a group called the Harpers.
The group headed out to find the mother of Marley, one of the two girls found when the battle broke out. They discovered that Marley had gone missing, and her mother was concerned she might be with Sakona, her green-haired friend. After retrieving this information, the group headed back to the tavern, but Dryden and Geth snuck out to investigate Sakona's home by lifting the roof off and finding her parents in a deep, unshakable sleep. Sakona made an appearance, and they learned that the ruins might be a place of interest in their search for Marley. The next day, they headed to the ruins, where they found a suicidal Marley. Sakona was there instigating the situation, and before long transformed into a massive green dragon, and a battle ensued. The Rad Squad conquered the beast and thwarted Marley's attempts at self-harm. They returned Marley home and then convinced her mother to let her travel with them to find the enchanter Artris Kimber. Artris was of interest to the group, as he might know the whereabouts of a magical item that could aid in the ending of the giant's onslaught. Not to mention his breadth of knowledge may help in curing Marley of her affliction. Before heading out, the men tackled a drinking challenge against the tavern's champion, a bear. Geth proved victorious, leaving all of the challengers quite literally on the floor. As night fell upon the small town, I, Dryden, captured the now intoxicated and incapacitated bear and brought it outside of the city walls, where I murdered the bear and harvested its fur and teeth for my own needs. The group then headed south to Neverwinter, where they came upon the booby-trapped house of Zelron Roaringhorn. Despite the obvious dangers, the group gained permission to enter. As they made their way through Zelron's home, hilarity ensued as the group investigated every inch of the home and successfully discovered nothing until Brontor nearly destroyed the working element that controlled the shifting rooms. Geth was attacked by a library and saved by Tomp, who shortly thereafter became entranced by some spell, forcing a non-stop dance-off with himself until Dryden attempted to rescue him, at which point he also became a slave to the rhythm of the music. Somewhere in the mix, Geth and Dryden got fake married, much to Tomp's dismay. This all came to a head when the group, once again together in one room, found themselves in combat with an abomination, followed by a group of ropers. As the battle unfolded, a series of events led to Brontor being dragged into an electricity-filled pit with one of the ropers. They swiftly defeated the ropers, rescued Brontor, and then headed directly to Zelron. Somewhere in the fray, Tomp became briefly possessed, but before long, he was quite literally knocked out of it. Zelron thanked the group for assisting him and led them on their way with some tools, offering also to train Marley in how to control her magical abilities. They caught wind of where to find Artris Kimber and headed that way, but not before Zelron shared one last gift in the form of an airship for their travels.
The Rad Squad found their way onto this impressive airship and was headed toward the Eye of the Allfather, as I deduced through some rather clever interrogations. Their flight wasn't all sunshine and butterflies, however. Their high-altitude cruise was met with an attack from a group of manticores. Our heroes fought valiantly, especially myself, while Brontor manned the harpoon gun on the front of the ship. Our battle wasn't won without casualties, though. My beautiful hat was skewered by one of the beasts. I love that hat. The rest of the flight went without a hitch as our daring heroes ventured forth into the frozen shrine known as the Eye of the Allfather. Upon entering the shrine, we were met with large hallways of stone as Tomp and I took the lead. Not even 20 yards in, we heard a slight click in the walls. Without a second to think, a giant stone slab fell from the ceiling. I watched as Tomp slipped backward out of danger, but my body was frozen stiff. The next thing I remember was pure darkness. I regained my sight as this pillar was lifted off of me. I said, well, that didn't hurt so bad, as I looked down at my hands. My left hand was missing, and I could see straight through my right. As I looked past it, I could see a pool of my own blood with some mechanical bits laying on the ground. I looked back as Jessica screamed and ran toward me. I tried to speak to tell her that I was okay, but nothing came out this time. That's when it hit me. I was dead. I watched on in shock as Jessica and Brontor tried to revive me, but there was nothing left of me to save. To my surprise, Tomp performed some rites as he laid some twigs near the pool of my own blood. I looked down to see my new form start to fade. My last words as I faded were, "We all bleed." I stirred as my consciousness returned. When I opened my eyes, all I saw in front of me was a human and a dragonborn tied up. Well, I was tied up too, apparently, on the ground. After some quick introductions, I found that this was Bronbor and Jespa, the ones Theriston told me about. Yes, I know, you were very helpful. Anyway, our captors of sorts didn't like us talking to each other. We quickly sprang into action to fight our way out of this mess with some crafty spells by yours truly, and some mighty fighting by Bronbor. We were quickly joined in the middle of our fight by Tonth and Dryben. I wondered how they didn't get captured. What's that? They were headed back to the ship without Bronbor and Jespa? Well, that doesn't seem very nice. Where was I? Oh, right. Their giant friend, who I later found out is called Harshnag, joined the fight as we all slaughtered our captured to gain our freedom. Ha-ha! We went on to properly introduce ourselves. The blood hunter Brontor, the cleric Jeska, the ranger Tomph, the barbarian Dryden, and myself, the brilliant sorcerer Lucis. Our brave adventurers, including yours truly, ventured forth into the shrine where we found 6 humongous giant statues that resembled the 6 types of giants, all facing what I can only deduce as a statue of the Allfather himself. The group explored the new room and found a side room that was a giant-sized dining hall. In the corner, lurking, was a Remoraz ready to strike. Our fearless heroes leapt into battle facing the beast head-on. I flung some spells, Tom shot some arrows, Dryden mounted and fought the beast from its back, Brontor cursed the beast with some impressive blood magic, and Jeska, well, she healed some of us. Yeah, I guess you're right, it's kind of helpful. Not my cup of tea, but helpful. After a quick rest and some panicking on Brontor's part, we went back into the main hall and started to crack the puzzle of the giant statues. At the end of the room, there was a giant doorway shrouded in fog and surrounded by some runes that, according to Tomph, spelled out the types of the giants. We took the weapons from the statues and started to hit the runes with the corresponding weapon. Some of them had adverse effects, as we were almost killed by a rain of fire. The final runes were the Frost Rune and Earth Rune. As we hit them at the same time, Earth Elementals sprang from the ground to attack us. We fought valiantly against the Earth Elementals, but ultimately decided to perform a tactical retreat until it was all clear again. We pondered the Giant's puzzle before Harshnag so cleverly dropped the Frost Giant's weapon. As it clanged across the ground, it collided with the Frost Rune on the doorway. Suddenly, the mist faded to reveal another room. In it, we found the body of a frost giant in the center of a circular room with 6 other giant statues holding lanterns facing the dead giant. As we entered, a giant's form rose up from the dead giant and revealed himself as the oracle that we sought. Yes, I know that I thought that it didn't exist, but I was still looking for it. The oracle granted us 6 questions that he would provide absolute answers to. Most of the group asked questions about their boring past, but Harshnag asked him something in Giant's tongue that was answered with a quest forth to Mirabar.
Tomph informed the group that the Oracle tasked them with retrieving a long-forgotten relic known as the Orb of Passage, located beneath the city of Mirabar. Once returned, the orb would allow them to see Geth again, and the next portion of their journey would become clear. They set out from the Eye of the Allfather, flying to the city of Mirabar, Harshnag electing to stay at the temple. Upon arriving in Mirabar, the Rad Squad explored the city, discovering the Crucible, a fighting pit run by the clerics of Kord. Dryden entered the ring and was pitted against a Goliath named Kern the Hammer. Through a series of deadly holds, Dryden emerged victorious, killing his opponent in the process. Jeska, acting quickly, dropped down into the Crucible, rushing over to the fallen Kern, reviving him through her divine magic. But what she brought back was not the individual they saw moments before. An abomination wreathed in darkness stood before our heroes, grasping a blade made of pure shadow. A battle ensued, with Brontor dealing the final blow, destroying the entity's head. A voice vowing to return in greater force echoed around the arena before the entity fell. Dryden, trapped in a magical orb, was transported to the Temple of Cord to await trial by the Battlemaster. The rest learned that these abominations have been appearing every time a resurrection is attempted. Lucius, disguised as a member of the Guard, and Tomf staged a jailbreak in an attempt to free Dryden. During their escape, Tomf transformed Dryden into a snake and alerted the guards to their presence. Racing towards the exit, they were halted by the Battlemaster himself. The legend of the Rad Squad is still unfolding, their adventures leading them to new and frightening realms. What lies in store for our heroes beneath Mirabar, and what evil is corrupting the land there? What and where is this Orb of Passage? Who was that shadow that spoke to them, and when will it return? Will the giants be halted before they destroy the realm? And what part do our heroes have to play in all of this? The Rad Squad sets out for answers, for family, and for adventure.